If you want to create an amazing magic system for your writing, you've come to the right place. Hey guys, I'm Marlene and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going through my 5 tips for creating an amazing magic system. Whether you're writing a book, a video game, a short story, a novella, whatever your heart desires. If you're writing fantasy and you want magic in your story, these 5 tips are for you. Before we dive into today's content, if you want to read a great fantasy book with a very interesting take on magic, check out my debut fantasy adventure novel, To Wear a Crown. You can get it at all online retailers, links in the description box below. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell if you don't want to miss any videos. I post new writing advice videos every Wednesday and a book review every second Friday. Now, without further ado, let's get into the 5 tips for creating a great magic system. So firstly, high fantasy versus low fantasy. It's good to know from the get-go whether you're creating a magic system for a low fantasy or a high fantasy story. Now, low fantasy doesn't necessarily mean that there are less magical elements or even that it has to take place in the real world or a version thereof. Low fantasy simply means that the magic or the fantastical elements are not commonplace in that world. So magic and other fantasy elements do exist, but only a privy few know about it. Examples of low fantasy stories include Harry Potter, The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, Twilight by Stephenie Meyer, and my own book, To Wear a Crown. High fantasy, on the other hand, indicates that the fantastical elements or the magic of the world is commonplace in that world. Everyone knows that magic exists. It's a part of life. Whether that's for a select few people in the world or not, it's not a surprise to anyone that magic or fantastical elements exist. So examples of high fantasy stories include Eragon by Christopher Paolini, Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, and Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Now that you've decided whether you're creating a magic system for a low fantasy or a high fantasy story, it's time to decide between a hard magical system and a soft magical system. A hard magic system has built-in, inherent limitations. There are certain things that magic can do, and that is the sum total of it. So examples of stories with hard magic systems include Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they have bending of the elements, and that is the sum total of magic in that world, and Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, where you have the different classes of Grisha, and they have a certain skill set that they use magic for. And that is all that magic can do in that world, really. So a soft magic system doesn't have inherent limitations on what you're able to do with magic. So the examples of this is like Eragon, Harry Potter, and The Lord of the Rings. You can shape magic kind of to your will, and it's possible to do many different things with magic. There aren't hard limitations. Okay, now that you know whether it's low fantasy or high fantasy, hard magic or soft magic, it's time to create some magic. So this is the part where I can't really give you too much guidance because it's all about your creativity and letting your imagination run wild. What do you want magic to look like in your story? What do you want magic to be able to achieve? How big of a role do you want magic to play in the story and in your characters' lives? Do you want different classes of magic wielders, each with mastery over their own elements? Do you want magic to be a flexible tool that can be used to achieve almost anything? Do you want your magic to be limited to telepathic actions or creating portals? Do you want to have different people have power over different elements of nature or different magical disciplines? Can wielders use magic without any tools? Or do they need spells, runes, or rituals? The possibilities are endless, but it's important to decide what magic can do in your world. What is it capable of? Then number 4 is how does it work and where does it come from? Well, now we know what magic can do. Next step is, why can it do that? Where does the power of the magic come from, and how does the user wield it? Does the power or the force of the magic come from the wielder themselves? Does it draw from inner life force and energy? Does it draw on energy from another realm or dimension? Does it pull from the surrounding natural elements? Does the power come from a deity or from demonic forces? Identify the source and the origin of the magic. From there, elaborate on how it works. How does the wielder access the source of that magic, the power? Is it through strength of will, through incantations, through selling their soul? The possibilities, once again, are endless. For example, let's say the power of your magic comes from the cosmic energy of another dimension. In order for wielders to access that energy, that source, they draw runes on their body. The runes act as a portal to the other world, and once the rune is complete, the cosmic energy from that other dimension flows into the wielder, and they can now command it. Then finally, the limitations. So very, very important is you have to be clear about the limitations of your magic system. Fantasy magic systems often fall flat because they don't have clear confines. If you're writing a hard magic system, this step is easier because the limitations is inherent within the system. If you're writing a soft magic system, you have to decide what the limit is of what magic is capable of. But whether you're writing a hard magic system or a soft magic system, you need to decide on the cost of using magic. Does the magic drain the wielder's energy? Does each instance of using magic darken the wielder's soul or deteriorate their body? Does using magic damage the natural world around the wielder or drain other people of their life force? So magic without a cost, without limitations or consequences, just isn't as captivating. So yeah, those are my 5 things essentially to consider when you're creating a magic system. I would also just recommend reading a lot of fantasy books with different magic systems and kind of getting a feel for what works and what you like and don't like. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell if you don't want to miss any updates. As always, you can find me on my website, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, and TikTok. All the links are listed below. You can follow me on BookBub, you can sign up for my newsletter, and then I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!